Hey folks, welcome to PlayBranson, where you get to know Branson's entertainers better. And I just got to say, happy Thanksgiving to you. I am thankful for our viewers. You make us want to keep doing this. And I always say, if you keep watching, we'll keep playing. And on today's show, we have Dino Strunk. Dino is a world-class guitarist here in Branson. And first time he's been on the show, so we're interested in talking to him about his history and what he's doing now. A few things I want to tell you about. Facts about Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving was held in the autumn of 1621 and included 50 pilgrims and 90, I'm not going to get this right, Wampanoag Indians, and it lasted 3 days. Each year, the President of the United States pardons a turkey and spares it from being eaten for Thanksgiving dinner. The first turkey pardon ceremony started with President Truman in 1947. That's a long time ago. The heaviest turkey on record, according to the Guinness Book of Records, weighed 86 pounds. That's a lot of turkey. Americans eat 46 million turkeys each Thanksgiving. That is a lot of turkey. And in fact, here in the Ozarks, we have a lot of turkey farms. Tyson Foods is even close, and so we appreciate all those fine folks out there growing turkeys and chickens and all that kind of stuff to make our Thanksgiving meals better. Folks, once again, we're thankful for you. We're thankful you come to Branson, and we're thankful for our entertainers here in Branson that help make this a better place. And we'll be back in just a minute with more with Dino Strunk. Hey folks, welcome back, and for the first time ever on PlayBranson, I have Dino Strunk. Dino, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Great to be here.
You know, I always love having musicians on the show because you don't always get to hear the musician's story and their history. And you are a legendary musician.
Yeah.
And so I want you to take people way back because you've got a long history. And so let's talk about your history.
Well, I was very blessed. I started out singing. My father played in bands as a hobbyist musician. And when I was growing up, we always had musicians around the house and had jam sessions going on. And I was just around it. And from the age of about 4 to 5 years old, I started singing. And we ended up, I started doing some traveling when my dad would do some road shows too. And then that turned into me getting an agent. And from the age of between about 5 to 10 years old, I toured a lot around the Midwest area doing shows. I sang mostly, and I played some guitar.
Well, now, were you like the main guy?
No, I was part of an entourage of different performers. You might say. We would do different, like a lot of state fairs, that sort of thing, and started getting very interested in guitar at about the age of 6. Mom and Dad seen that I had a great interest in music, and it seemed to come natural for me. So they tried very hard, if they could, to get instruments into the house for me to start learning how to play. And after a while, I was pretty proficient at about 10 different instruments.
10 different instruments. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you were that?
I started between 6 to 10 to 12 years old, right in there, playing several different instruments, yeah.
That's amazing.
But guitar became my thing when I got about 12 years old, and it just seemed to come natural for me. I never took any lessons. My dad showed me a few chords when I started out.
Wow.
And
so it's God-given talent.
Yes, I got to give it all to him.
Yeah.
And in fact, my whole journey I give to him, because I never really pursued any different directions. I knew this is what I wanted to do, but my growing up years, I was very blessed to be invited by bands to be their lead guitar player. And I literally learned playing on stage on the fly, you might say. And it was actually nice of them to put up with me because I was in my learning years too. So and it just kind of grew from there.
So you're in your teenage years. You're like touring even as a teenager?
Yes, even at that. Although the touring did slow down a little bit, and I started doing. Of course, I was still in school and everything, and I started doing weekend shows. Illinois is where I'm from originally, Central Illinois. And there was a lot of little shows, country shows, that were located in little different towns. And they would hire me to come and be in their house band, and we would do shows on the weekends.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I cut my teeth, you might say, on becoming more proficient on guitar. Mm-hmm. And like I say, a lot of players helped me along, showing me things, teaching me things, and
yeah. And so what happened? What happened after like high school then? What
when I graduated high school and I started getting more and more into music, I'll take you up to when I was about 20 years old. I was doing a show up in Decatur, Illinois, and we had a group come in from the Lake of the Ozarks, Osage Beach area, mm-hmm. which is kind of a smaller version of Branson, you might say. And they at that time they had about 6 or 7 different shows. Lee Mace's Ozark Opry, the Main Street Opry, different ones.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Lee Mace because literally this last weekend I was helping my mother clean out her house. She's moving, and I found a Lee Mace like program.
Yes.
So I'm like, that's pretty historical stuff right there.
Yeah, and actually to go back a little ways, when I was about 7 or so, I was actually one of the performers. He used to have a talent show at the end of his seasons, and I actually came down and performed on that.
Okay.
And Lee actually came to Illinois right before his unfortunate accident when he passed, and he wanted to hire me when I graduated high school to play guitar for him on his show. Unfortunately, that never happened. He passed away, and of course I needed to graduate. And then after that, I just kind of stayed in that area.
Okay.
Until I was about 20, and that gets me up to where we were there. Main Street Opry came in and did a road show at this theater where I was performing up there. And I got to meet Tom Gum and Steve West and all of them. And of course, they heard me play as well, and they took my information in case they ever needed somebody or knew of somebody. And about a year later, I got a call from a new show that was opening up at the Lake of the Ozarks. They had gotten my name from Tom and Steve, and I ended up moving to the Lake of the Ozarks to work on shows there for about 6 years.
And so what show did you work on there?
That was the Country Western Shindig, and it opened in '89. I'm showing my age now.
Okay.
It opened in '89 and was open for a couple years, and then I worked on Mark Sexton's Star World Showroom, and did some various club work up there too. There was a place called Teaser's Nightclub. We had a country act that played there. This was kind of in the era of Garth Brooks, and everybody was dressing like, had the Garth Brooks shirts and all that, the line dance craze and everything. Yeah. And I played up in that area for about 6 years.
Okay.
And
you know, I, as a young kid, went to the Lake of the Ozarks a lot, and I remember Denny Hilton had a show.
Yes, Denny Hilton.
And, of course, Lee Mace, and I think, you know, the Main Street Opry, and, there was several different shows up there.
The Country Western Shindig was actually in Denny's old theater.
Okay.
When I first moved down. That's where we were at. And some of the cast, Kelly Jones on fiddle, and different ones that were with Denny were a part of that show.
So how'd you get to Branson?
Well, when I was up at the Lake of the Ozarks, and of course you meet, other musicians and different people playing up there, and the group, the Branson Brothers.
Okay.
A couple of my musician buddies that were here in Branson at the time, Dean Holman and Brad Allen, they were playing, and they knew Jimmy Ponder and Dan Britton and them from the Branson Brothers. They were leaving Silver Dollar City at Echo Hollow to do road work, and they was looking for players, and they had given Jimmy Ponder my name, my friends had, and Jimmy called me at the Lake of the Ozarks, and it was kind of a last-minute thing. They needed me to go out that weekend, and I was like, oh, okay, let's see, I got this booking, but I thought, I'll move things around, and I literally met them on the bus.
Isn't that wild?
So, yeah.
But you know what that tells me is that you had a great enough reputation that they didn't worry about whether you could learn this stuff or know this stuff. Like, literally, they just call you up, and you're doing their guitar stuff.
Well, I should backtrack and say I did make a trip to Springfield and met up with Dan Britton, and he gave me a CD of their material and stuff.
Okay.
But a lot of the material, of course, was cover tunes, but they also had their Heartmender album out at that time, and some of the stuff was on there. So we was headed out in about 2 days after I found out they needed me. So I spent, a whole day just charting songs and learning songs and parts. And we went on the road, got to the gig, was learning the stuff on the bus on our way. We was practicing. And we got to the gig, and it went so well the first night. We were there for a week. The first night, we did so well that we started working up new stuff the next day just to change things up and throw in. So it was a chemistry. It just worked.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what got you to Branson. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back in just a minute with more with Dino Strunk.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need ibranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at ibranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. ibranson.com.
Hey folks, we are back with more with Dino Strunk. And Dino, you kind of got us to what was then the Branson brothers, and you're on the road. So kind of take us from there and tell us what happened next.
Well, when they moved away from Echo Hollow, they decided they kind of had a split, and they needed to come up with a new name, and they had already come up with the idea of Pierce Arrow. And we were touring as the Branson brothers, but it was right in that switch. Pierce Arrow had been developed at that time. It was actually Dan Britton, Jimmy Ponder, Clay Cooper, and Jeff Wilhite. And we toured that way for a while as Pierce Arrow. And then in the winter, or in the summertime, I should say, touring kind of ends up for the Branson artist, and we work in town. Well, Tom Brumley, who had a show at the time, the Brumley Family Morning Show, Pierce Arrow went to work for them. They was over, at that time, was the 76 Music Hall, which is Grand Country today. Right. And they went to work for Tom, and Tom was needing a guitar player. I ended up working with Tom Brumley. I did his show for about 3 years, and in the process of that, the Pierce Arrow group got their own show at the 76 Music Hall called 76 Country USA. And of course we put together a cast for that. And we were there for about 3 years, and then that's when they made the move to where Pierce Arrow is at now, and it became the Pierce Arrow / Paul Harris show at that time.
Yeah, you have a lot of history. You've seen a lot of different shows, a lot of different people moving here.
Yes, a lot of changes over the years.
And so you ended up being at Pierce Arrow for...
I was with them for 13 years.
13 years. That's a long time for musicians.
Yes, and that's including the beginning when it was the Branson brothers.
Right.
And at that time, of course, I was also working other shows too. Delina Ditto, she had her show in town, the Delina Show. And I was staying busy 2 and 3, sometimes 4 shows a day.
Yeah. And you're just rocking it out on guitar.
Doing my best to rock it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So folks, when we film these shows, we normally film several in a day. I was talking to another entertainer earlier today, and I mentioned Dino was going to be on the show, and he said he is the monster of guitar on a world-class level. And I was just like, man, you have a lot of respect from other entertainers in town. Like, you're well known,
yeah, that's
you're
very
well
kind
respected,
of them,
and I thought that was an amazing compliment. That like they really valued how well you.
I really
do.
appreciate that. That's very kind of them.
So today, you're at a couple shows now today
Mm-hmm.
here in Branson. Tell us about those shows.
Yes, well, when I left Pierce Arrow at that time, I kind of decided I had worked so many shows all day long, and I wanted to take a little bit of a break, so I started doing like 1 or 2 shows a day, and started freelancing. And Joe Diffie came into town at that time, and I worked for him when he was here, and just various other shows. A lot of shows like at God and Country. I started doing some things with a little group called the Honky Tonk Renovators.
Okay.
And
I
just
like that name.
Yeah, and playing out in different places. Okay. And so that's how I kind of ended up where I'm at now. I started working with Doug Gabriel. He called me about 8 years ago. And so he ended up becoming my main show, if you will. And then I started doing other things around that. I had a duo for a while with Ashley, Dawn, and Dino. And then also when Melody Hart put her thing together with her family band, her and Wayne, they was kind enough to call me and wanted me to do that. And I've really enjoyed just kind of moving around and doing different things now. I'm also with Carrie Garrison in the Bad Choices band.
Bad Choices band.
That we play there at Choices on various weekends and just doing other things.
So people can see you in some cases a variety of locations in town. Your main one is Doug Gabriel's show, but then you're doing several of the shows over at Choices Concert Hall.
Yes, doing several over there now.
And then if somebody wanted to hire you, like to do a recording session and different things like that, you'll do that as well.
I can do that at home, or I can also go into the studio with them and do that.
So obviously Eddie Van Halen just died, and I'm guessing that was like Eddie. Everybody knew Eddie.
Everybody.
If you're a guitar player, you knew Eddie.
Yes, what an innovator, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, I loved Eddie. Probably my biggest rock influence, though, and there's a lot of people out there. This is kind of my alter ego. There's a guy by the name of Angus Young in AC/DC.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of my, like I say, alter ego stuff from his style. In fact, on the Terry Awards show about 3 years ago, we did a little surprise thing where I dressed up in the Angus Young outfit, and we got out
that was
there.
pretty interesting.
It was quite interesting. It went over great. I didn't know just how it would go, but we had a ball with it. Everybody seemed, and it's one of the greatest memories that. I think I introduced AC/DC to Branson is what I did.
Yeah. I saw an AC/DC tribute band down at the Landing like a couple years ago outside when the guy from Cinderella was here. It was for like some biker weekend, and it was interesting to say the least because it's not the normal Branson.
No, it's
not the normal Branson thing. But, so, like, kind of just over the years, you've seen this history. Like, what do you think's around the corner for Branson and entertainment?
Well, you know, like I say, I've been here 25 years now, and of course, when I first got here, the shows, of course, everything was big, but we were in the boom. You know, it's still at that time, and the shows were really hopping. Like I say, you could do 2 and 3 shows a day, and people would. In my case, I was still getting calls to sub and. You know, and do those things. The show thing is kind of dwindled a little bit right now. I think it's in a transition. I think we will go around the corner and that will come back again, though, too. Yeah, I believe.
COVID hasn't helped.
Yeah, COVID hasn't helped.
You know,
we've struggled with that. Thankfully, Branson is one of the areas where we're still able to perform.
Right.
I have a lot of friends that live in Nashville and stuff that they're really hurting.
Yeah.
The industry in general is really hurting, and I feel very blessed. I'm not working as much right now as I usually would be, but I'm doing okay, and I'm very blessed that we're still able to go here.
Now, have you ever taught guitar lessons?
You know, I did years ago. Actually, before I moved to Branson, I used to teach. And I enjoyed it. I did it at music stores mostly. They would hire me to teach students, and it became hard with my schedule because students come in, they set you up on a weekly basis, and I'm not always available to do that. I may have to go out on the road or do something different or have a show, and so I kind of put the teaching thing aside.
I think, the reason I asked that is because you were kind of self-taught, and I just wondered how that would play into someone that's self-taught. And I quite frankly, that just blows me away that at such a young age, like, you just took, you just connected with music and the guitar, and I just think that's amazing. And
my dad showed me a few chords when I started out, but everything, it was pick the needle up on the record and listen to it over again. Of course,
you got a good ear.
That's what I do. It's I can read, and of course we do some number system stuff and everything too, but mostly it's ear.
So folks, here's the deal. If you want to see Dino playing guitar, rocking it out on the guitar, world-class entertainer here in Branson, you can go see him at the Doug Gabriel Show over at the Branson Famous Theater. That's where the Ballknobbers perform as well, and that's on Highway 165. And Doug's show is at what time in the mornings?
Right now we're doing 2 shows in the mornings on Wednesday and Friday at 10 a.m., and then we're doing a Sunday matinee at 2.
Okay, so there's a couple times a week you can go see him. And then Melody Hart and friends. Actually, we're going to have Melody and Wayne on our next show.
Yes.
But you're doing some stuff with them over at Choices Concert Hall. So.
And we do a 5:30 show on Thursdays with them.
Okay. So, folks, go see Dino. Tell him you saw him on PlayBranson, and just enjoy his entertainment. And that's what he's been entertaining folks in Branson for over 2 decades.
Yes.
Over 2 decades. That's a long time.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Been a wonderful ride. So thankful to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a minute with more.
The Christmas season is a perfect time for family traditions, and Branson's Lights of Joy, Branson's all-LED drive-thru, is a great way to create those lasting Christmas memories. This year, discover new LED Christmas displays and an amazing tunnel with state-of-the-art lighting. Santa loves these lights. Branson's Lights of Joy is located just north of Sight and Sound Theater on Expressway Lane. Open nightly through January 1st. Visit lightsofjoydrivethru.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to PlayBranson. We are wrapping the show up today. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Dino. Man, can you imagine starting at such a young age and playing guitar, like when you're 4 and 5 years old, and then 10 instruments, and man, what an incredible history of entertaining people here in the Midwest primarily, but then he's been in Branson for over 2 decades, just helping people have fun and entertaining them. That's awesome. December is the last month, folks, for you to see Christmas and all these Christmas shows here in Branson. And so if you haven't been to Branson, you need to come. Branson is open and it's COVID friendly. We are taking proper social distancing. There is a mask mandate as of when we film this, so there are places in town you have to wear a mask. There's other places you can get by probably not. So begin thinking about coming to Branson also for New Year's Eve festivities as well. So several shows do New Year's Eve shows, and so this may be one of the only few places in the United States that you will be able to go and do something fun and exciting on New Year's Eve. And here's the deal. The folks at ibranson.com can help you plan your entire Branson vacation. And so if you want to come this Christmas, you want to come New Year's Eve, call those folks at 877-ENTERTAIN or go to ibranson.com and tell them you saw it and heard about them on PlayBranson. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week with more.